So having something like 2 eggs, and then also having a Greek yogurt. And then if you want, have like a quarter or half of the oatmeal that you were having before, because now you're not needing to fill up only on oatmeal. You're actually replacing some of the oatmeal with more metabolism boosting foods. And you can still make those foods taste amazing. You can put salt, pepper, you could put, any kind of flavors on your eggs. You can put cinnamon in your Greek yogurt. You can add some berries into it. You can add a little bit of nuts if you want in there. And then you should eat those first.
Welcome back to another episode of the Peak Performance Life podcast. Today, I am very excited to have a special guest who is an expert in one of the things that I get asked about the most from the ladies out there. So on the line with us, we have Nagina Abdullah, who is a weight loss coach for women in midlife and founder of the top-rated website masalabody.com. She has a degree in molecular and cell biology from UC Berkeley and earned an MBA at NYU. And she's helped more than 1,500 women in midlife successfully lose weight permanently and create a lifestyle change. After she lost 40 pounds by boosting her metabolism naturally, she started to coach other midlife women to boost their metabolism, especially when what worked before no longer works. She focuses on adding and combining natural metabolism boosting foods to reduce belly fat and get women unstuck so they can live in their dream body. I absolutely love this topic. Nagina, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm excited for a conversation.
Yeah. So let's start with just a brief background. What's the kind of the backstory that got you so interested in this?
Thanks so much. Well, I personally struggled with weight loss my entire life. And I also struggled with my sugar cravings, with trying to be healthy, but still feeling overwhelmed by wanting to eat tempting foods. And really, I had tried every diet out there for decades. I tried Weight Watchers. I tried eating less, exercising more. I tried Atkins, South Beach, and I would be able to lose maybe 12, sometimes 13 pounds. But then I would gain all of that back the moment I would lose it. And then I would put more back on. And so I was continuously in this cycle of gaining and losing and feeling like I was controlled by my cravings, even though I was trying so hard to eat healthy. And what happened for me is that I went to graduate school. I started working in New York City. I had a very busy job, and then I had 2 children. And at that point, I got to the maximum weight of my life, and I no longer had the time that I had before. But I knew that there was more at stake now because I wanted to have energy for my children. I wanted to be able to age and feel good about myself. I didn't want to feel frumpy and also unhealthy and low energy. And so what happened is that I started adding foods to my diet. I started forgetting about restricting since I had been there already, and it seemed like it wasn't ever working for me. So I started researching scientific research from my degree in molecular and cell biology, and I started finding there's actually foods that we can add that keep us more full and satiated, that increase our metabolism so we're not hungry, and actually get rid of our sugar cravings. And it seemed too good to be true, but I was like, I have no other choice. I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to be tired and lethargic, and I want to feel good in my body. I want to look the way that I feel inside. I want to look like I'm motivated. And so I started adding these foods. We can talk more in detail about what they are because after it started working, I created this framework called the fat burning food framework, where it's very simple 4 types of foods that you add to your day. And I cannot believe it, but I lost 40 pounds in 9 months. And just to put it in perspective, that got me to 20 pounds below where I had been before I had children. And so I was looking and feeling the best I ever had. And the best part about this whole entire transformation is that now it's been 14 years and it's still stayed off. And even through midlife, there's been more changes that happened, especially for women in midlife, with bloating, with inflammation, with extra fat gain, especially around the belly. I experienced all of those things myself, but I've been able to figure out the strategies that are really different than what people are advising us in the normal public. Those strategies are not working. And that's why most women in midlife are looking like they're not in shape, because they're following outdated advice. And so what I want to do today is really share what that current modern advice is that works for women. And it's based on natural foods and increasing our metabolism and never feeling restricted. And so, along this way, I've also coached 1,600 women to lose weight, to increase their metabolism, but most importantly, to create a healthy lifestyle. And this was after so many women started seeing my transformation, started asking me about it. I created my website, masalabody.com, and I started coaching women, and now have coached, thousands of women to have that lifestyle, which is really the only way to go, especially in midlife, because dieting no longer works.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Can't wait to get into some of the foods and strategies that you talk about. But one thing I just want to kind of bring back up that you mentioned earlier about energy and having that energy, especially in midlife, especially as a parent, right? Having that extra energy at the end of the day is a difference between maybe you blowing up on your kids, saying something you regret, hurting a relationship with the person you love most potentially. Those kind of things, people don't realize a lot of that comes down to how much energy you have, how good you feel, and what you put in your body is so important when it comes to that. So yeah, really absolutely love what you everything you said there, and completely agree. So much of this weight loss advice is outdated. The whole drastic cutting of calories and restriction and things like that. We've seen from that show, The Biggest Loser, that most of them end up gaining back all the weight and more because they're wrecking their metabolism. So I'm really excited to get into this topic with you here today and talk about some of your strategies.
Yes, absolutely. We can definitely talk about that. And really, restriction will come back to bite you. But the biggest, the thing is that in midlife, restriction actually stops working. So even if you're looking to it as a strategy, it actually no longer works. And there's a lot of reasons why, because our body changes usually for most women in their 40s, but some women even earlier than that. And then it keeps changing and transforming. And so dieting is just going to keep you stuck, and in fact, even potentially gaining weight.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you can wreck your hormones, a whole long other list, I'm sure, of many other things. But yeah, let's get into, so okay, what are some of the common biggest mistakes that you see women making when trying to lose weight, and what's your alternatives?
Okay, so the biggest mistake that I've seen is cutting calories and restricting and actually under eating. Under eating is the number one reason women are not losing weight. And so what happens is, as we get a little older, especially like when we're starting out in our 40s, especially like around 43, 44, what happens is that our bodies are not as efficient in absorbing nutrients as it was before. So this conversation becomes more about the nutrients that we're giving our body versus only the calories. Calories will play a part, but if you're not giving your body fiber, if you're not giving your body iron, if you're not giving your body selenium and other types of vitamins and minerals, then your thyroid gland cannot activate your metabolism. Your liver is not detoxing your body, so you're having inflammation, you're having toxins, food, and hormones that are stuck in your body because you're not able to detox it out through your liver. And for many women, our gut health is starting to decline. And so when we give ourselves less food, we're not feeding our bodies up with the nutrients that we need to detox this food out of our body and the other things that I mentioned as well, hormones and toxins. And so things are getting stuck in our body, and our body starts to go more and more into a survival mode. And so what that means is that if you're underfeeding your body, instead of losing weight, your body will just hang on to what you have. And whenever you do give it food, it will keep it as fat, because it doesn't know when its next meal is coming. You're not giving it consistent meals. But the other thing that's also happening is that for many women that are under eating, they'll undereat during the day, and then at dinner or after dinner, it will all start coming up. It'll like erupt like a volcano, and they'll realize how hungry they are. And at that point, your body is seeking quick forms of energy. And so you will likely be having foods that are high in sugar and that are digesting really quickly. And the issue with that is that it raises our blood sugar. And especially when women are in midlife, we become more insulin resistant, which means that when we eat sugar and carbs that break down quickly, we release insulin more quickly and we store it as fat more quickly, because our body doesn't want that, cannot deal with that blood sugar rising. So it's getting that sugar out of our blood. So you're going to experience more fat gain if you're eating foods that are raising your blood sugar, because we are becoming more insulin resistant. This is just what happens to many women in midlife. There's nothing we've done wrong. It's just a factor of our bodies transforming. And then one more thing that I see that's happening is that, I mean, this is a scientific fact, that our bodies are changing from muscle to fat unless we fight that. And so when we have muscle, we have more increased metabolism. So in our 20s and 30s, we naturally have muscle, even if you weren't working out. But then after that, our muscle is declining. And so if we are not feeding ourselves enough, then our body continues to transform and change more into fat, which means you have a slower metabolism, because when you have more muscle on your body, you are burning more calories. And so these are some of the factors that are playing out. But when you're under eating, you're not building muscle, because even just eating more of the right foods, including proteins and some other foods I'll share, are helping you build muscle. If you're feeding yourself enough, you're helping your gut health, your thyroid, your liver run in the right way and move food out of your body. And you are also making sure that you're eating the right foods so that you don't have that insulin resistance more than you naturally do, and you're not raising your blood sugar. So under eating is the number one problem I see, and it's because we've grown up with a culture of dieting and eating less. And it's actually harming us once we go into midlife. And the only way that we're going to be able to get to our dream bodies, the way that I was able to actually lose all my midlife bloat, my midlife weight that I gained, was through eating more of the right foods and not being scared of food anymore.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. It's so ingrained in our society about, like even after just hearing how eloquently you just explained that, there will still be people listening right now that be like, yeah, but if I cut calories and eat less, I'll lose weight that way. And like, it's so ingrained that I'm so excited that we're talking about this. And hopefully people, I want to point this out because I hope people really understand that that's not the solution, especially in midlife and older, to just start cutting calories and eating less and not, and yeah, just all the things you talked about are perfect. So let's get into then. It sounds like strength training is obviously critically important as well, as you talked about, kind of muscle being something that can burn fat and help us as well. So that would be something. And then let's talk a little bit about kind of your principles and some of your foods and diet, not diet, but like foods and things that you recommend for fat burning. I know you have like fat burning foods that you talk about.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Well, okay. So the thing is, starting off with a priority, a lot of times we've been taught that exercise is what will help us, whether it's lose weight, build muscle, become healthier. But actually, the science shows that 80% of increasing your metabolism comes from what you eat. So if you're feeling stressed that you're not getting to the gym, or you're not walking, or you're not running as much as you want to, it's actually okay, because the main thing is that focusing on your diet is the number one thing that we should be doing. That is actually going to help you increase your metabolism, release your bloat, decrease your belly. All of those things are in the kitchen. And it starts off by adding certain foods to your diet. And so I like to start with breakfast, because breakfast is one of the meals that many people decide to skip or just end up skipping because they're rushed. They're not hungry in the morning. And they feel like still it's better to have less calories and it's easier to skip breakfast. But what happens is when you skip breakfast, you don't get the right amount of protein, which you need to increase your metabolism. And it's really hard to get enough protein when you skip breakfast. Now, the reason protein is so important is that protein is the building block that increases our metabolism, that gets our metabolism fired up. If you're not eating enough protein, your metabolism is going to be more sluggish. Now, protein also digests much more slowly, and so it keeps us full for longer. And I always notice when I don't have protein, maybe I'm on vacation or I didn't get a chance to eat what I wanted to, I instantly feel hungry for sugar or for quick carbs like chips or something like that. And it's almost instant, like in one day, those cravings will come. And so that's why adding protein to your diet, well, this is the number one way to actually get off of sugar. And it's like, it doesn't even seem like it relates, because a lot of times, we've always been taught, in order to get off of sugar, take sugar out. And that's actually the biggest mistake, because when you take sugar out, you start thinking about sugar. That's all you want to do. Like when I decided to go on a diet before, one of my many diets, and I would decide, okay, I'm not going to have chocolate mochas. I'm not going to have brownies. I'm not going to have chocolate cake or pizza. The only thing I could think about was all of those things. And so when you take out those foods, you want to replace it with foods that are metabolism boosting. And so protein, in addition, has a thermogenic effect. And so when we're digesting protein, it is using 30 to 40% more calories than other food. And so you're actually burning calories while you are eating protein. And so let me give some examples of protein at breakfast, because this is the number one thing my clients say. Once they started adding protein to their breakfast, that's what got them to lose 2 to 4 pounds in the first week. And then you have to just be consistent with adding it to your lunch and your dinner and throughout the day. And I just want to call out how I'm really focusing on adding foods and not subtracting foods. Subtracting it's a strategy that doesn't work anymore. And once you add, you naturally will subtract those foods that are zapping your metabolism. You're not going to have the cravings for them. So some examples of some things at breakfast, and let me start off by saying the amount of protein that's really important, because a lot of times we feel like, oh, we're just adding a little protein, it's better than before. Yes, it is better. But if you don't get a certain amount of protein, your body's not going to it's not going to feel satiated, and you're going to start feeling cravings. So having at least 30 grams of protein in your breakfast is going to solve so many problems, and it's going to get you on the road to your best body. And believe me, whether in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s, you can live in your best body now just by doing these food tricks that I'm teaching. And so adding protein of 30 grams, what that looks like is, okay, so 2 eggs. A lot of times people have 2 eggs for breakfast. Here's the myth about 2 eggs. 1 egg is only 6 grams of protein. So if you're having 2 eggs, that's just 12 grams of protein. And there's a reason you're feeling hungry, maybe 2 hours later. And there's also a reason you're likely not releasing that weight that you want to lose, if that's something that is your goal. And it's also important for people that are building muscle. We also want to eat enough protein. So 2 eggs is a great start. But what you can do in addition to that is you can have Greek yogurt. There's some really great brands that are 20 grams of protein, things like Oikos 20. There's another one called Ratio 25. You can find these in many common stores, like your grocery store or Target, anywhere like that. And so if you, in Greek yogurt, though it's dairy, it's a better kind of dairy because it's pasteurized in a way where it's lower sugar and higher protein. So even if you feel like you are trying to take out dairy, I'll give you some options for that. But Greek yogurt is one that I do recommend, and just see how your body responds. See if you're able to be okay with it. But other alternatives are doing 2 eggs and then a cup of egg whites. And so a cup of egg whites is going to give you 20 grams of protein. So 20 plus the 12 in the eggs is 32 grams of protein. And you can just make that into a scramble. You can have eggs, you can have berries on the side. And then the other thing that you can do while you're making these eggs, or if you just have 2 eggs, is you can use the spice turmeric. And turmeric is an anti-inflammatory spice. And many of us have heard of it. It's kind of having a very popular time right now, but it's been used for centuries, especially starting in the Indian culture where I'm from. And I grew up eating turmeric. And so turmeric is a yellow, beautiful spice. You can add that into your eggs, just about a half teaspoon, and also add some black pepper with it, because that increases absorption of turmeric by 2,000%. And then you have an anti-inflammatory, fat-burning, amazingly delicious and filling breakfast with 2 eggs, a cup of egg whites, and some berries on the side. So that's a really great option. You can also replace those egg whites with any other kind of protein source, like organic turkey sausage, like Applegate turkey sausage. You could use 2 of those. You could do 2 ounces of smoked salmon with 2 eggs. That's going to give you around 20 to 25 grams of protein. You can use chicken or meat or steak from the night before. And you can also do a tofu scramble, on the side or instead of the eggs. And then another idea for breakfast is to do what I call my metabolism boosting smoothie. And smoothies are really great, especially right now in the summer for people that want like something crisp and cool and refreshing. A great recipe that I have is to add a cup of almond milk or non-dairy milk because that's better for less bloating. Instead of having milk, you can also use water. That's actually the best. That's what I use. A cup of berries like strawberries, which have a really nice flavor and it's low sugar, so you're not raising your blood sugar. Also a cup of spinach, so you're getting fiber, and you're not even going to taste that spinach in this smoothie. Then add 1 scoop of protein powder or 1 serving of protein powder, or alternatively Greek yogurt if you don't have protein powder. And then 2 more ingredients. One, which I call is my secret ingredient, which is flaxseed or chia seed, 2 tablespoons of each. This is going to give you so much fiber as well as healthy fats. Fiber is very, very important, especially in midlife, to keep food moving out of your body, to keep your gut really strong. Having more fiber is absolutely crucial. So this is going to give you 6 to 8 grams of fiber, which is amazing in one meal. And then you can also add some mint leaves to this, and that would make this my strawberry mint metabolism boosting smoothie. And what mint does is it actually, the scent of it, you could add like 6 mint leaves and just muddle it before you add it. Mint helps you decrease overeating and decrease sugar cravings. And so it's really helpful if you feel like you get snacky during the day. So these are a couple different options to get that protein in. But what you're also doing is you're adding low sugar fruit, and that's giving you nutrients, it's giving you fiber, but you're also not spiking your blood sugar, because when you have protein and low sugar foods, as well as fiber that you're getting from the fruit and you're getting from the veggies, and a healthy fat like the eggs or like the flaxseed, when you have these few things, protein, healthy fat, and fiber, when you have these 3, your blood sugar does not spike, even though you're eating a very large amount of food, but your blood sugar is staying even. And because your blood sugar is staying even, you're actually burning fat instead of storing fat. And that's why I call this the fat burning food framework, because when you keep your blood sugar even, you start burning fat, but you're eating more and you're giving your body the nutrients that you need, and you're not feeling the temptations or the sugar cravings that may have been derailing you before. So it's truly a magical but very effective lifestyle. And that's why I've been able to keep my weight off for over 14 years, as well as teach 1,600 other women how to do the same, because it's just very doable and very realistic to live like this.
Yes. I absolutely love everything you're saying. Which exactly what you said too. I haven't heard anyone put these 3 together, but protein, healthy fats, and fiber, like you said. If people focus on those as kind of the base of what they're eating, you gave some great example. I'm a huge fan of eggs, like you mentioned. I'm a huge fan of the healthy smoothie with some protein in it as well. These are great pieces of advice. What do you see? And especially, by the way, starting your day. Imagine people who are starting their day with like a muffin or a pastry and coffee or a bagel and a coffee, or these kind of things, compared to if you just swap that out with what you just said, the examples you just gave, what a difference that can make for someone in their body. So maybe what are some of the other kind of like, what are some of the foods that you say, I guess it's not really about saying, oh, you can't have this or you can't have that. But I agree with you, when you eat more protein and when you eat healthy fats and fiber, you feel more satiated. I actually kind of came to this conclusion sometime in the past year or two that I'm like, I'm going to eat the same amount. Like if I don't eat this, my baseline of calories, I'm just going to be hungry and miserable and not happy. So it's about what I eat, rather than eating less or more or whatever, right? And so I'm completely on board with what you're saying. It's changed my life. And what are some of like the things that you're seeing when foods that maybe women thought were healthy or were eating a lot of, that you would say, hey, maybe swap this with that?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. I like to talk about this in a way where it's where sugar is hiding. And sugar is hiding in so many foods that are taught to us are healthy. And this is part of the reason it feels really challenging to get off of sugar, because sugar is hiding in lots of healthy foods that we're consuming and thinking we're being healthy with, as well as foods we're not consuming certain foods that would help us so much. And that's a big problem as well. But once you just know about this, it becomes really, really simple and easy, really simple. And so, one of the key things, first of all, I want to share that sugar is a drug. And the reason I'm saying that is because when we eat sugar, our body starts wanting more sugar. So if you're eating foods that have hidden sugars in them and thinking they're healthy, and I'm pretty sure mostly, a lot of people are likely eating some foods that are having hiding sugars in them. And even if you have a little bit of sugar, your body starts craving more sugar because you're feeding your gut bacteria that is living off of that sugar. And so your gut is actually craving sugar. But here's an alternative and kind of like a very, very stark but positive contrast to having a life of being addicted to sugar. Imagine, this maybe even feel hard to imagine for some, but for some, you've probably been through this. I know I have, which is imagine having an addiction and craving vegetables. Okay. How much easier is life when your body and your gut is craving vegetables? And that's exactly what happened to me. And this is why I'm so outspoken about this, because I never knew that we could actually change our cravings. And the way that you change your cravings is simply by replacing what you're giving your body. So now your gut bacteria is growing the healthy bacteria that's craving vegetables. So in every single meal, my stomach is like asking for vegetables. If there's greens and any meal, I'm eating that first, not because I'm trying to lose weight, but because my body is asking me for it. And so I got off the sugar train by learning how to replace sugar with other healthy foods. And then I started craving those other healthy foods. And that's why this becomes a lifestyle, and you no longer have to try very hard when you start doing this. So let me share a few foods where sugar is hiding. So number one, sugar is hiding in smoothies. And a lot of people are having smoothies because they're thinking that they're healthy. They're going out to a smoothie bar. But what you're seeing, or that you might be having it at home following a recipe, I can tell you when I started masalabody.com, I looked at all the smoothies online and I could find no smoothies that were increasing my metabolism. I knew they were all going to spike my blood sugar, because smoothies will say that they're healthy because they have a lot of fruit. And fruit is healthy, but fruit is still sugar. And fruit is still spiking your blood sugar. But if you pair that fruit with either a protein or a healthy fat, you'll spike your blood sugar like 25% as much. And there's so much evidence that show this. And that's why in the recipe I shared, we had a cup of strawberries, which is a low sugar fruit, not a high sugar fruit. And I also paired it with protein powder, as well as flaxseed, as well as spinach. All those pairings help you enjoy food that you love, but you're pairing them so you're keeping your blood sugar even. So if you're having a smoothie, make sure you're having protein in it. Make sure you're having some kind of fiber and or healthy fat in it. And instead of having lots of different fruits, choose one or two lower sugar fruits. And I really advise keeping it at 1 cup total. So that's going to really help you. And because otherwise, if you're having a smoothie, it's no better than having like a cheesy omelet or like a cheesy sandwich that's spiking your blood sugar too, but you think you're being healthy. So smoothies are one. Number two.
Yeah. By the way, side note on the smoothies, especially, I highly recommend buying this stuff and making your own smoothie at home as well. I'm a big fan as well of frozen blueberries and frozen strawberries, organic frozen blueberries and strawberries that I keep in my freezer that I use in my smoothies all the time. Great low sugar fruit there. One time I went to a place, Tropical Smoothie Cafe or whatever, years ago, and I asked for a smoothie. All of a sudden, I see this guy throw a big scoop of some powder in there, and I said, "Oh, hey, what was that?" I kind of saw him in the back. I said, "What was that?" He said, "Oh, that's called turbinol or some weird name for sugar that they had." And then I said, "Okay, I didn't want that." And they're like, "Oh, well, we always put this in the smoothie." And I said, "No, I don't want that." So then the next time I went there and I ordered the smoothie and I said, no turbinol. And I look out of the corner of my eye, I see the guy throwing a scoop of something in there. I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Oh, when people ask for no turbinol, we put Splenda." And I said, I don't want Splenda, And so after that, whenever I ordered, I had to go and I had to specifically say no turbinol, no Splenda, just the fruit, nothing else. Like I had to spell it out for them. So you never know what these people are throwing in there too. You got to really be careful.
That is so true. Oh my gosh, good thing you were noticing that, because that's the way that they're having people come back, because it does taste good when it's sweet. But the thing is, once you start realizing that taste of sweet, you don't need it as much anymore. And so this is also part of the transformation. When you get off of sugar, you're not looking for sweet, so it's easier for you to be healthy. But I absolutely advise making your own smoothies. It's so much tastier. It's very easy to do as well. Now, another food that where sugar is hiding is granola and granola bars. And I see a lot of women that that come to me for help, and almost every single woman is educated or knowledgeable about health, but they don't know that there's something going on, and they feel very frustrated because they're eating healthy, but they're staying stuck. And so there's a balance between some foods that they're eating that are causing their blood sugar spike, and also not eating enough of the other foods that are increasing their metabolism. And so it's connecting those dots. So I see a lot of women eating granola or granola bars, and that has been taught to us as healthy. And yes, granola bars are healthier than a Snickers bar or than some type of candy bar, but they're still full of sugar. And all you have to do is look at the bag or look at the box and see how many carbs and sugar that has. And you'll also see how little protein, how little, other healthy actual nutrients it has in it. And so if you are eating granola, what I recommend is that you just sprinkle a little bit maybe on your Greek yogurt, so you're pairing it with a protein, and you're not increasing your blood sugar as much as you would if you were eating it alone. And I recommend you don't have granola bars. A really good snack that you could have if for an afternoon snack or a late night snack is to have a date with a tablespoon of peanut butter. And so a date is lower glycemic, meaning it's not spiking your blood sugar as much, but it still does have a little sugar in it. So when you pair that with a healthy fat, which is the peanut butter or any kind of nut butter or any kind of nuts, then you're slowing and you're really dulling that spike. And that's very satiating and filling. And it's part of kind of around my mantra that you should eat more. So instead of just eating the date, eat the date with the nut butter. And another option is to have a small apple or half an apple with nut butter. That's also good. It's better than eating the apple by itself, because the apple is going to spike your blood sugar because of the sugar it has in it. So those are, so those are two things where sugar is hiding. And then another area that sugar is hiding, this is the third one I'll share, is a lot of times we see people eating dried fruit and considering that as healthy. And dried fruit is not unhealthy. I mean, there's a lot of other things that are unhealthier, but it is dried at its height of sweetness. And so if you're eating that dried fruit by itself, like dried mango, dried peach, dried apple slices, and you're feeling like you're healthy, it's spiking your blood sugar. Your insulin's being released from the pancreas. That blood sugar is getting pulled into your fat cells and getting stored as fat. So what would be better is if you had some sunflower seeds, some pumpkin seeds, or some nuts, and then you added a few of that dried fruit into there. And that way it's another example of combining your foods, still eating the foods that you like, but really just knowing that you are giving your body foods in a way that it's not spiking your blood sugar. And then as a result, you'll be able to burn fat. So, so those are a few different things. And one more thing that I want to share is using a special spice, and adding this spice over your food can really help you get off of sugar and also lower your blood sugar. And what that means is you'll store less fat. And so this spice is cinnamon. And cinnamon has been proven for centuries to bring down your blood sugar. And it's a great natural alternative to sugar, definitely better than that Splenda that they were putting in your smoothie. And it's not going to spike your insulin. It is going to actually lower your blood sugar. And so a really great way to use cinnamon is to just sprinkle it into your coffee or your tea in the morning, or also add it over your fruit. If you are having some kind of sweet or dessert, add some of that cinnamon on top. And that's going to really bring your blood sugar down. And another hack that's in the similar vein is to use 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in water, add it in water, and drink that before you're having a sweet or just drink it every morning and it helps to bring your blood sugar down. And so these are really easy, simple things that we can do, adding cinnamon, adding a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar once a day or before you're having a sweet, and then also learning about where sugar's hiding and pairing your food so that you have some other healthier, lower foods that don't digest as quickly and that are lower glycemic to help balance out those sugary foods.
Yeah, that's great advice. And kind of going back to what you said before too, another one, would you consider like oatmeal to be a similar in similar category as granola? As that's another one where I hear a lot of people who, have got health advice from 1980s and 90s, and they're like, oh, oatmeal, I'm going to start my day every day with oatmeal. And again, I think it kind of is along the similar lines of it's a high carb. It could spike your blood sugar if there's no protein in there, right? It could be an issue. I was curious your thoughts on that, and also like all the Coke Zeros and diet sodas that people are replacing, thinking that that's healthy as well.
Oh my gosh, these are such great questions. And thank you for bringing up oatmeal, because the oatmeal is definitely something that we see all the time that people are eating because they consider it healthy. But I feel so sad actually sharing this because I know everyone loves having, whoever has oatmeal, it's very comforting. It's a very amazing breakfast when you're having it. But here's the thing. It is a complex carb, but it's not complex enough. It's not fibrous enough. It is still breaking down quickly and it is causing a significant blood sugar spike. And so here is kind of a compromise. If you love your oatmeal, instead of taking it out, just realize it is spiking your blood sugar. And so what's really great is to pair it with a protein and or a healthy fat. I recommend having a protein no matter what. So that's just a given. So having something like 2 eggs, and then also having a Greek yogurt. And then if you want, have like a quarter or half of the oatmeal that you were having before, because now you're not needing to fill up only on oatmeal. You're actually replacing some of the oatmeal with more metabolism boosting foods. And you can still make those foods taste amazing. You can put salt, pepper, you could put, any kind of flavors on your eggs. You can put cinnamon in your Greek yogurt. You can add some berries into it. You can add a little bit of nuts if you want in there. And then you should eat those first, because if you eat those first, you're not going to spike your blood sugar as much. And then you're also not going to be as hungry to eat all of that oatmeal. And the thing is, when you start doing this, I have this mindset called action before attitude, which is in the beginning, you may not feel like doing this because it just feels so good to have that oatmeal. But if you just take action and get yourself, just start taking action because this is the right thing to do and you have a goal and you're hearing here that it's the right thing, then after a few days, your body will actually start feeling like having that breakfast. You'll start craving those foods because you're giving your body these foods. Your body starts responding to it. So just give it a few days to let your body like fall into that new habit. So, so that's the thing about oatmeal. I'm so glad we talked about that. And for Coke Zero and other kinds of sodas. So here's the thing. Oh my gosh. I personally used to be really, truly addicted to Diet Pepsi, and I just had to have Diet Pepsi every single day. And I found out it was because the aspartame in it, that's addictive. It's like makes you want it every single day. But the thing about diet sodas is they're sweetened with these artificial sweeteners in most cases. And artificial sweeteners, they're not spiking our blood sugar. They're not giving us calories. But here's what they are doing. They're doing 2 major things that are really harming us. One is that they're keeping us addicted to the taste of sweet. They're keeping our brain addicted. So even though there's no sugar in it, our body's loving and responding and getting used to that sweet feeling. That way, we're looking for sugar everywhere. Just like that smoothie story you told me is people are looking for sugar in every situation, and that's why they're flavoring it. But people are also looking, like, you're not going to be able to enjoy foods like vegetables, like proteins, without having that. So you really want to, when you're using artificial sugar, you're keeping your brain addicted to sweet, and that's going to make it hard for you to get healthy. And second of all, and this really comes to play in midlife, our gut health is very negatively affected by artificial sweeteners because those are chemicals. And it's not just the chemicals from those sweeteners, it's the chemicals from the soda. Like we are ingesting chemicals. We could have gotten by with that in our 20s and 30s, but you're going to start seeing your body's not going to react the same. You might feel differently. You might start seeing things are not changing as quickly in a good way. And so we really have to cleanse our bodies of these chemicals. And so, instead of having soda, what I recommend is having an iced tea that's unsweetened, or having one of the flavored waters. Like there's a lot of really nice flavored waters that don't have sugar in it, or just enjoying having water and maybe adding lemon. And I like to add a cucumber I like to add one lemon to a pitcher of water, one cucumber that's cut up, and then 6 sprigs of mint that I muddle. I call that infused debloating water because lemon actually detoxes your body. Cucumber is very hydrating. It's 95% water, so it's debloating. And then mint is helping you get off of those sugar cravings. And so if you have 1 glass of this infused debloating water a day or more, but at least one, you're going to see your cravings start to decrease, and you're not going to feel that need for other drinks that are actually moving you in a very unhealthy way and just not making you feel good.
Yeah, that's really, really great stuff. Everything you've said so far, I'm just like, this is so spot on. Another thing I would say too, for people who really are like, oh, I want a soda. One thing that worked great for me, I don't know what your opinion is on it, but I would take sparkling water and then just put a scoop of electrolyte powder that I was going to take anyway, and I would mix it up, and it almost tastes like like a little soda there. And I'm getting my electrolytes in because I'm pretty active, so that one kind of worked for me. I thought was a pretty cool hack as well.
Yes, that's such a great idea because those are flavored and they're good for you because you're absorbing more water when you're having electrolytes. And it's easier to drink that water, and then you don't feel the need for these other chemical-based beverages.
Yep. Nagina, this has been awesome. If you've shared this in just our short conversation here, I can only imagine what you go into in your program. The listeners know I am a big fan of coaching, mentoring, getting the help that you need. There is nothing more important than your health. That's the Peak Performance mission, is to help you prioritize and transform your health, because if you have your health, you have nothing. And so is there a better place that you can make an investment in yourself than to take control of your health? If it's something that you've been struggling with, if you've got that extra 20 pounds or more that you've kind of been hanging on to, that you really want to lose and get yourself into the shape that you can be in, and have the energy. That, for me, that's the most important part, going back to the beginning of the episode, the energy and vitality. You just feel better. So much of people's, I think, mental health issues these days, a lot of it can come from you don't feel good, you don't have energy, you feel lethargic, you don't feel like doing anything. And that can change when you put the right foods in your body, get your metabolism working right, get in your ideal weight. You can have that energy and vitality back. So please tell everyone, maybe a little bit about your programs or where they can find you and learn more, any resources you have there.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. I'd love to do that. Well, first, I want to start off by sharing a free gift that I put together for your listeners. And this was something I thought that specifically your listeners would love based on what we're talking about here today. And that is, I've put together a sweet spice cheat sheet where I talk about the spice that is likely in your kitchen cabinet. It is so common, and it helps to lower blood sugar and also curb sugar cravings. And it's a great starter spice to learning how to lose anywhere from 10 to 40 plus pounds. And so this cheat sheet includes 5 ways to use it in your day, most of which are no cook ways. And the best part of this cheat sheet is my fire tea recipe, which is a simple fat burning fire tea that fires away belly fat. And so you can grab this cheat sheet by finding me on Instagram at Masala Body. And the link is also in the show notes. So you can just follow me there and then DM me the word sweet, and I will send you the free sweet spice cheat sheet. Now, I'm also going to put a URL where you can grab that sweet spice cheat sheet. But if you're able to DM me, then I'll be able to give you a free weight loss assessment and talk about your goals. I'll talk about your challenges, and I'll talk about what your first step is to start really activating that weight loss. Now, in addition to that, I also would love to offer a free midlife metabolism discovery call with me. I'll put the link we'll put the link in the show notes. And this is specifically for midlife women to discover why you may be stuck, why you're gaining belly fat, and why you're experiencing weight that just won't budge, and exactly what to do first to start melting that away. So that, if you wanted to head over there, that is at masalabody.com/apply. And we'll also put that link below. And then from there, you'll be on, I'll send you I can send you recipes. I can send you tips and strategies for how to make this a lifestyle step by step, and we can stay connected. So that's a great way. Just my cheat sheet is the number one. And then if you'd like to set up a quick 10-minute call, I would be absolutely honored to talk with any of you that are ready for that.
That's amazing. Thank you for that generous offer. Highly recommend people take you up on that. Again, I think what you said there at the end, again, to reiterate, is like, this is not some restricted diet. This is actually, in some cases, you may be eating more, but you're going to be eating more nourishing foods that are going to make you feel better. And so I think it's an absolute amazing thing when people can, because that's what I consider myself, that I don't diet. I actually eat as much as I want to eat every single day. As if I'm hungry, I eat. I just eat healthy, nourishing foods that make me feel good. And so I think with your guidance, if you haven't been able to do that, if you're in midlife and you haven't been able to do that on your own, that's the time where seek out a little help and have someone who can guide you through the process. It's like having a personal trainer at the gym, right? If you want to have someone show you how to do things the right way and make sure you're training the right way, right? There's nothing more. And we know that nutrition and what you put in your body, like you mentioned, and I agree, is even more important than the exercise and working out part. So highly recommend. I really love and agree with everything that you said here today. And thank you so much for joining us. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Yes, absolutely. It's been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, can you please leave us a rating or review and subscribe? I've realized that while we have actually increased our downloads a lot, we're actually getting a lot of downloads, which I'm really happy about. We actually have very few ratings. And I realized that I've never asked people really to rate much. So I'm asking you now if you could please rate and review and subscribe. And if you enjoyed the episode, please forward it along to anyone that you think will get value out of this. Also, if you haven't checked out our line of products at buypeakperformance.com, you get 20% off your first order. That's www.buypeakperformance.com. We have some incredible products, including our organic high-altitude coffee. If you don't know this, coffee is one of the most heavily sprayed with pesticides out of any crop. So it's really important that you drink organic coffee. We've gone above and beyond to source what we believe is the highest quality and healthiest organic coffee in the world. We're also famous for our organic green superfood powder. You can get 20% off of that as well at buypeakperformance.com. We also have an organic vegan and paleo plant protein. See, most of the vegan proteins out there are using brown rice protein, which is really not a good source of protein, and it's also a grain. And if you're paleo, you know that grains tend to cause inflammation in some cases for some people. And so we wanted to make one that was paleo friendly and vegan and organic. We made an amazing amino acid profile, so it's really one of the best plant proteins for muscle building. So you can check out Peak Performance Organic Plant Protein. You can find that on our website. Of course, all our products are on Amazon as well. So thanks again. And again, please, if you enjoyed the episode, please forward it along to someone who you feel can get value out of it. And please leave us a rating, review, and subscribe. Thank you.